I really appreciate it. I am going to start our presentation. Welcome, everybody. Just give me one moment. I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. And then I just need to start my presentation slideshow. I hope everybody's doing well today. I know that it has been quite difficult during the pandemic to connect with people, but this is a lovely way to do it with these presentations. And I really appreciate being here for the second Tech Hub. As I was introduced, I'm Erin, Byrne, the Director of Education at Tech Moxie, and I do presentations like this for the villages in the area, as well as different residences and communities, just to keep everybody connected and to continue to engage people with technology. So our presentation today is going to be so many devices, what works for you. And if you go to our website, you'll see one of these graphics here. And I know it looks like she's pulling her hair out because technology can often make us feel that way. But hopefully after this presentation, you'll feel a little more confident in your decision about different devices that are out there. So I'm first going to start with what we're going to cover. The first thing is features of different kinds of devices. The next is going to be computers, Microsoft versus Apple. Following, we're going to move into how to access email. Apologies for that spelling error there. And the next is the cloud. What is it and why? Sorry about that. What is it and why does it matter? All right, so first of all, we're going to go through a little technology pep talk. I like to start off with something light because oftentimes when you're working with technology and you get into a rut or you go down a rabbit hole and you get stuck, you can get very frustrated. So here is a nice little comic from the New Yorker, and it says, after I introduce you to solids, I'm going to need your help with some computer stuff. Because so often we look to the younger generation to help us with our tech needs, and it is not intuitive always. And you have to realize that it is a learning process for everyone. So even if you look at this little 5-year-old buzzing through their phone or on their tablet, making all of these little things happen that you never could do, it's just because they've been practicing with it and playing with it and really exploring it with that childlike mind. But I thought this was a very cute little comic. And of course, afterwards, if anybody wants the slideshow, I can send it out as well. So we're going to move into our presentation now. So our first topic of discussion is features of different kinds of devices. So the first thing that you can talk about with devices is your desktop computer. And all desktop computers are typically larger than something like a laptop or a tablet or a phone. So you have a larger screen, you can add monitors to it so that you can include more information, and it really is just a bigger package there. A downside to that, of course, is it isn't portable. It's hard for you to move one desktop to a completely different location without putting in a lot of setup and a lot of work. What is good about a desktop? It's easier to customize with the keyboard, mouse, and monitor of your choice. Also, one thing that you have to think about with these desktops is that most of them have a camera and mic, but that's not always the case. Some desktops do not have that camera on the computer, and you have to put in your own webcam in order to have that option of a camera or a microphone. Historically, they're thought to have more memory and storage than a laptop or a tablet or any kind of other device. And now that difference is a lot less significant. A lot of laptops come with enough storage, or they use cloud storage in order for you to have enough space to store documents, pictures, anything that you would put on a desktop computer. So I took a little not screenshot. I took these images off the internet, and you'll see we have a desktop computer. That's your Apple computer, your Mac right here, and also the PC beside it. Main differences here, typically the Mac is going to have everything built in to this monitor so that you don't have this side piece next to the PC, where that little tower beside the PC with all of that storage and processing. Of course, with that difference in the device, there is a price difference there, and Macs typically run a lot more expensive than the PC. So laptop computers, overall, they're smaller and lighter than a desktop. So if you are looking for something, instead of having a big bulky desktop that sits on your desk and you want something a little bit more portable, I would suggest getting a laptop. However, the trade-off there is going to be the smaller screen. So you may want that larger screen. You may want that desktop computer so you have a larger screen to look at. It does change that portability, obviously, but if you are somebody who needs the additional screen size, or you need a little bit more screen, then it's important to have a desktop there. Also, laptop computers have that built-in keyboard. Your desktop computers usually have the keyboard attachment, so that you would have to be able to have either a wireless keyboard or a keyboard that you plug in with a USB cord or USB port. Also, these laptops have a built-in trackpad. So the trackpad is what you would use if you wanted to eliminate using a mouse. So you would need a separate keyboard, mouse, and or larger screen to add to that computer if you need that option. And that's something that I like to work with my clients that really have some difficulty typing on these small keys. Sometimes the larger keyboard, if you attach it to a laptop, it makes that a lot easier for somebody to type. I find this is the case with anybody who is like hunting and pecking on the keyboard. Also, it's about overall feel of whether or not you want that keyboard where it's in the laptop itself, or you want that feel of those keys that you really press down. Some laptops have touch screens, allowing them to be used like a tablet. I found that is very helpful for somebody who is searching for something, or they're not able to use the trackpad, or the mouse is a little bit difficult to use. So you have a specific feature on this device that allows you to touch the screen so that you can go to different pages that you're looking for. You can open up new programs, close new programs. All of those things really help when you have that touch pad or touch screen. And with your laptop.
Just to comment, one of our members also posted, as you said, that you can attach a larger screen to a second screen to a laptop. Mm-hmm. So for most people, how difficult is that?
So if you're somebody that wants to have dual monitors with your screen and with your laptop, it really is not a difficult thing to do. You just have to, depending on the laptop, have an adapter that is something that can be used with that monitor. I use a MacBook Air, and my MacBook Air needs the adapter to allow either a USB or an HDMI to connect to a monitor that way. But there are also wireless monitors that you could connect via Bluetooth, which would make that connection a lot easier.
Thank you. And I just want to point out for anybody on the call that, of course, if you want to do that and you feel like, oh, I don't know, that might mess up my laptop, or I'm afraid I'll mess it up, call the office. We have volunteers that are happy to do that for you. Mm-hmm. And then somebody also asked, as long as I've interrupted you, does Apple make a touchscreen laptop?
So I'd have to do a little research on that. I think it's more likely that Apple just has the tablet, but I'm not positive. I'm not 100% sure. I can do a quick search at the end of our conversation and our discussion, and I can pull up some of those things online for you. So
Excellent. Thank you so much.
all right, so here are some different devices, different laptops. You'll see in the upper left-hand corner, we've got just a traditional PC. Of course, there are different PCs available. You can get a Dell, you could get a different, like a Lenovo. You could really find a lot of different PCs. The same thing that, or what really is true about all these PCs is that they're running on Windows. There are other operating systems besides Windows or your iOS, that Mac software. Linux is one, but typically if you're not somebody that's really interested in the details behind the computer, you're probably not going to have that kind of operating system. The bottom of the screen, you'll see two different laptops that are, it looks like MacBook Air, and then to the right, it's another PC. And really it is about personal preference. I like to use Macs because I think they're a little bit safer, a little more secure. But there is a learning curve when it comes to if you were a PC user your whole life. So you do need to take that into consideration. So here are some features of different devices for tablets. Tablets always have a touch screen. They are very portable. You could take a tablet anywhere. And you can do the same thing with a laptop, but it's typically a lot easier just to carry a small tablet with you. You can slide it into a bag or a purse, and you can just carry it safely around with you. Also, one difference here is that they all run on apps, and apps is short for applications. So instead of the programs that you would run on a laptop, they are called applications for your tablets. There are options to use an add-on external keyboard, and that's something that you can definitely attach to a tablet if you do not want to use the keyboard that comes with any kind of messaging, emailing, or note-taking feature or application on the tablet. I find this to be very useful if I'm on the go and need to quickly grab my tablet and type something in. It's a lot faster. So adding that keyboard is very helpful. Also, the tablet does have that camera and mic built in. What's nice about having a tablet, because it's so portable and you can put these apps on that tablet, you could quickly, join a Zoom meeting somewhere and, not have to worry about, all of the complications that come with getting back to your home where your computer or laptop is stored. It's very similar to somebody who would be doing Zoom on their phone. So I have some tablets here. In the left-hand side, we have that the Apple tablet, so that iPad. Upper right-hand side, we've got an Android tablet. And then the bottom, this is like the Amazon Fire tablet. And the Amazon Fire tablet is a lot smaller than your average tablet. But some people like the idea that it's just a little bit bigger than a phone, so you can still hold it in your hand and not have to hold it with two hands. But of course, with that, if it's too small to view something or too small to work with, it's not the best form of tablet. You'll notice that in the upper right-hand corner, somebody has a stylus with their Android. I find that to be a really interesting feature. You can write and then it'll, have that specific written word turned into text. There are a lot of different programs that you can use the stylus with, and it's a nice way to not bunch up your keys. If you're trying to type something, it's really helpful to use a stylus. A lot of my clients that I've had in the past, one of the first things that I do when I notice that it's difficult to maneuver around the device is implement that stylus tool.
And so there's a question about the fact that sometimes using Zoom on a phone is very limited.
Yes.
The question is it easier to use on a tablet?
It is very similar on a tablet. similar application features, and it may not have things that you wouldn't. So for instance, if I was going to be doing a presentation like today, I'd use my laptop instead of using my tablet. It would be more difficult for me to do something like that with it. But the limited features, like you're still able to participate in the Zoom call. It's just not as versatile, I suppose is the best word for it. You don't have all of the options that are available to you when you're doing it on a laptop or a desktop computer.
Thank you. And then the next question about tablets is, can you save documents on an iPad as you would on a PC if you have Microsoft?
Yes, yes, you can. So you would have to have the Microsoft package with that specific tablet. And you can download the Microsoft app, and you would probably save it to, the cloud. And I don't know if it would probably be using OneDrive, or you could be saving it. What I would recommend, instead of purchasing the package, it would be try to use something like the Google Documents and things like that, because you'd be able to create documents over that platform and save it to your Google Drive. It's once again a little bit of a learning curve there, but if you've used Microsoft Word before, the Google Documents are very similar. It's online. So, obviously you need to be connected to Wi-Fi, unless you've turned out some features where you can create and then upload and once you get connected to Wi-Fi.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so features of different kinds of devices. Our last subject we're going to discuss is the smartphone, and the smartphone has everything that a tablet has. So if the question about creating documents, you could create documents on a smartphone as well. It's a lot more challenging because you are, working with such a small device, but it is possible. You could edit a document when you're on a smartphone, and you could really just make these things a lot. It's just about ease of access. You can be on the go and you have that phone with you. It's a very small device that you can carry with everywhere. Also, it has that cellular connection, so you can use it as your phone, which is the main purpose that everybody has a smartphone, is to have that phone that you can connect. Another thing that I want to add here is because the tablet doesn't always come with a data plan, your cell phone is something that has that data plan where you're connected to the internet at all time, unless you disconnect from your data. So I have a couple of devices here. I just have a typical iPhone. This is a smaller model. They're getting a little bigger. I don't know why everything has to get bigger. I like smaller phones myself, just because I like to be able to put it in a pocket and be on the move with it in my pocket. And unfortunately, the ladies in the room know our pockets are not made for carrying. Typically, they're just made for show. And the next picture is an Android phone. And Android phones come in all different sorts and models. They're all just using the Android operating system, which we'll go into in a little bit. So here are some features of these devices. So apps versus software. Your desktop and your laptop computer rely more on software programs like Word and Excel, and tablets and smartphones rely more on apps. As a practical matter, there isn't much different these days. Apps are usually designed for touch and smaller screens, and often apps are designed for very specific purposes, like plant identification, games, or medication reminders. But apps come in all shapes and sizes. Software programs like Word may be more robust than an app version. And that is the case when you do go from a laptop or a desktop to computing with your tablet. So if you really want the robust programming, I would suggest using your laptop and not the tablet application, because there are more features there. Next thing we're going to go over is the operating system. So what is an operating system?
Sorry, before you start the operating system, getting back to the Zoom on a tablet versus a phone. I think the question is really in terms of, is it better on the tablet? So neither of them are going to be better, better than a desktop or a laptop in terms of usage. But is the tablet better than a phone with Zoom?
They're very similar. They're very, very
Okay.
similar. It is just more about the screen size when it comes to the tablet versus the phone. When I was working at the assisted living during the pandemic, I would take my tablet around the entire community because it had a larger screen. But I did have care managers that would create Zoom calls or make video calls and video chats with family members on their phone. I found this particularly helpful, the larger screen, just because a lot of my residents weren't used to talking to someone with that, video and not seeing them in person. So having that larger screen is more important that way.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And do you know, speaking of older residents, do you know if any of the portable devices have any type of steadying feature? I know for some of our members, there's an issue if you have a tremor or if your hand is not as steady in terms of using some of these touch screen devices.
Yes. So one thing that I've done with anybody who needs that particular accessibility feature, so people who need that particular accessibility feature, I would either implement a stylus that is very, very thick, like almost, so I've seen it done two different ways. One where the stylus is almost like this large, almost crayon, like those big kindergarten crayons. Or I've seen somebody using a tennis ball attached like to the stylus to steady that hand motion. But there is software built into these applications in the system settings where you can turn off like a double tap. So if you accidentally tap 2 times, it doesn't register the second tap. And that's just in the system settings and the system preferences.
Great, thank you.
Great. All right, so moving on to software on the devices. Microsoft computers and laptops run on Windows 10 or now 11. Apple computers run on laptops, and laptops run on Mac Big Sur or Monterey. And iPhone and iPad run on iOS or iOS like 15.0 is the model that's out there right now. And if you're using Galaxy phone, I didn't have this extra bullet point in here, Android phone. Oh, no, it's under there. Sorry. Android phones run on a Google system through hardware made by Samsung or whoever's LG could be making the phone. And if we continue a little bit more, sorry, I just moved my, there we go. I just moved the picture so that I could see, or the video so I could see. The operating system is sometimes referred to as an OS, just shortened up for operating system. One thing that I just want to stop and pause and make sure everybody is aware of, it's very important to continue to update your operating system or upgrade your operating system. Oftentimes I see people that have very old operating systems running and they're not implementing the bug fixes or they're not implementing any of these safety features that come with those upgrades and updates. So it's really important to keep your software up to date. All right, so what kind of device is best for me? So a desktop computer is great for a larger screen. A laptop computer enables you to move around or travel from the kitchen to the sofa or even sitting up in bed. I know a lot of people that have transitioned from pandemic living back to the working world and they miss their pandemic setup where they could just sit in bed and check emails in the morning and get to work from there until their first Zoom meeting occurred. So it's kind of a rough transition for those out there. We should all keep them in our thoughts. But it is portable. It's very nice to be able to have that workspace move with you. The laptop and desktop are often preferred for those who do a lot of typing, whether it be email or documents. And the keyboard can be added to a tablet, but it adds the expense and the complication of adding that keyboard to it.
And speaking of tablets, another question is, can the tablet use voice input the way a phone can?
Yes, indeed. So the tablet is very similar to your phone. So anything that you're doing on your phone, you just have to find the function in your tablet for it. Typically, the dictation feature when you are looking at your phone, and I have a video of this. I do it with a different presentation, but I can show you with my iPhone. This is nice. I've got a wonderful text message from a friend saying, good luck with your presentation. So that's lovely. So when you look at your phone right here, if that little microphone right there, that is going to initiate your dictation. So locating that little microphone on any of your devices is going to be the first step in order to dictate a message, an email, or a note. I find it very good to use when I have to send a long text message and you're not supposed to be texting and driving. But if you pull up to a red light and you can just tap that little dictation feature, say something really quick and send it out if it's an emergency, that's very helpful. So it is available for your tablet, but just make sure that you're doing it safely. So getting back to, I hope that answered the question.
That did answer that question. And now I have another question for you. How long does the tablet last? I think what they're asking is how long does the battery in a tablet last when it's charged? Because of course, like anything, you have to recharge it. As compared to like an Apple or well, I guess a desktop is what they're thinking of. They're saying PC, but I think they're thinking of it like a laptop, really.
So typically a laptop is going to have a longer battery life than a tablet, but it really depends on how frequently you're using the tablet, what you're doing with the tablet. So if you're doing something quick, like, checking your email or taking a picture or really, doing something speedy with your applications, it's going to save battery that way. There are also options that you can put your device to sleep quickly, or you can wait a minute or 5 minutes. But the tablet is going to have less battery life than your laptop. I charge my tablet if I'm using it, like if I'm watching a video, I would probably have it charging while I'm watching that video, because that kind of feature where you're streaming and you're using the internet and you're watching this media is really going to drain the battery. But if I'm going to be just doing a quick message or an email, it's not going to take up that much battery and it'll be okay that way.
Thank you. And apparently I misunderstood the question. The question is about before you need to buy a new one, but I think that's more dependent on upgrades and things, wouldn't it be?
It is. So it's more dependent upon updates and upgrades. I always tell my clients and anyone who's attending these talks that it's good to search to see if you have a device that is no longer going to update, because if it's not updating, it's not giving you patches for security, it's not giving you bug fixes, and it's probably time to get a new device, or just make sure that you're not using that device to do things that are risky, if that makes sense. So you want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date software if you're doing anything on your phone that has private information, or on your tablet that is, you want to be secured. All right, did that answer the question a little bit?
That answers that question. And next we want to know, does a desktop have microphone capability? I believe what the question is in terms of the way you have the microphone in a phone or a tablet that you could talk into that'll type. Do desktops have that?
Yes. So with desktops, you have different assistants that could help you with that feature. So with the assistant, well, the assistant's name for your MacBook or your Mac desktop is going to be Siri. There's Cortana for your PC, but there's also, Google if you want to use like an OK Google smart assistant there, and you can have that implemented. There's also software out there for anybody that has any vision impairments where they will automatically uh, take the speech and turn it to text. And this is an option for your desktop, an option for your laptop, and some of your smart devices, which can be very helpful if you need that extra support to have that almost like subtitles running with any program that you're running.
So you can say, hey Siri to your Mac and it'll type for you?
You could say, hey Siri, make me a note. Please add these things to my grocery list, or hey Siri, make a note. You need to email this individual, and then you could put in a whole piece of information. You could say, hey Siri, add something to my calendar, and it'll put something on your calendar for you. It's all about what is responding to that smart assistant, or it would really just be helpful for anybody who needs that assistance with typing. I know my father, he learned to type on a typewriter, and the way that you were taught was to do that hunt and peck, because you need to be able to hit the key, and the key then has to hit that band and then get that ink and place it on the paper. So you had to do that forceful push. So he never learned, to have his hands on, the center of your keyboard, typing with your ring finger with the A and the L, and, going from there. So if he were to have a dictation feature enabled on, his smartphone or on his computer, it would help a lot with just dictating what you need to write.
I see. And do you need to enable that, or it just automatically happens?
You will need to enable it. It's something that you have to do in your system preferences or your settings. And it is typically, they have you say a few phrases to recognize your voice. And then over time, it learns your voice and speech pattern. So it doesn't make as many errors, but it can get a little bit goofy at times. So just make sure to proofread.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so what kind of device is best for me? The desktop computer is great for larger screen. I think I went through that one. So I am going to move on to my next slide. So the desktop laptop with a touch screen is often a wasted feature unless you really want it. Tablets are great if you tend to view more than type. So if you're somebody that is not typing a lot of emails, not sending a lot of, or not creating a lot of documents, you're just somebody that wants to be a passive viewer, or somebody that's not really, sending too much out there. I would suggest doing a tablet because you can still see your photos, you can take pictures, you can stream on different platforms, and you can read ebooks that are available. Of course, keep in mind, a Microsoft computer will have the same desktop as, as a laptop, and that's the same for Apple. Tablets and smartphones have many fun apps that are not available on computers. Cameras are great for taking photos on the go. So if you're somebody like me who enjoys investigating different apps that are out there, or you want to find something that really interests you, I like an app. I'm becoming I'm becoming more of a plant mom in my old age, and I like to have it's an app that identifies the plant, and it identifies anything that's going wrong with the plant, and it'll give you specific ways to heal the plant, which can be very, very helpful for me because I am, like my grandmother, have a black thumb. My husband jokes all the time about that, which is very silly. My grandmother could grow just about anything in her yard, but I do need this app to tell me how to take care of these little plants that I have. All right, so our next topic is going to be computers. We're going to go into Microsoft versus Apple. And don't worry, it's not a competition. I just thought this would be a fun graphic for us to see that versus. So what is best, Microsoft or Apple? Fortunately, there is no best. It is really what you're used to. So it's personal preference. I like to use Mac, but I am also very comfortable using a PC. I started out with a PC, and then when I went to college, I took some courses, and the courses only allowed you to use a Mac. So I had to learn that operating system, and there was a learning curve, even for me, who, you could kind of consider me like on the cusp of a tech native. But it was difficult to really catch up and make all of the adjustments and learn this new operating system. So if you're somebody that has always been a PC user and you want to transition to Apple, just expect that there is a learning curve. And we really don't recommend changing unless you have a reason and the motivation. So computers, Microsoft versus Apple, the advantages of a Mac computer or laptop. So what is really nice about the Mac computer or laptop is your iPhone photos, they're automatically available on the computer. They're stored in the cloud. So if you're somebody who wants to be able to take pictures and it's connected to your computer right away, with your iPhone, it will automatically sync with your computer. You can also continue iPhone text conversation from the laptop and vice versa. Sometimes when I'm working and I need to send a quick text message, but I'm writing a document or working on a presentation, I can type that text message while I'm working on that document. I just have to pull up the messages program on my computer.
I think you win on the text, but just out of curiosity, isn't it possible with a Microsoft OS that if you take a picture on your phone and you have a Google Drive, you will also be able to see it on your computer?
Definitely. So that is available. I'm sorry, I should make sure to add that to the presentation. So if you are using your Google Drive, you can then, sorry, I know that anybody who needs lip reading right now is not going to be able to see because of the layer that I have, which is unfortunate. I may just actually turn so that you can see a little better. Okay, there we go. All right, so if you are somebody that has an Android phone and then wants to make sure that you have those pictures available to you, I would enable the Google Drive, and then your photos would then upload to the cloud there, and you could access them on the computer through a browser.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so the disadvantages of a Mac computer or laptop, they're expensive. I mentioned it earlier in the presentation. If you want to get a Mac laptop, it's close to $1,000. It's expensive. It's an investment. They're very reliable, but you do have to put a lot into it upfront. And again, I mentioned earlier the learning curve. It's not hard, but it can be frustrating. I compare it to, and it's kind of funny that I had to turn and show you my kitchen. Because it's like cooking in someone else's kitchen. You may not have to, you may not know what to do, but all of the things are there. So you may be trying to cook a dinner, but you're not sure where all the pots and pans are located, or you don't know where the spatulas are, but they're there somewhere. You just have to locate them. All right, so how each type of the device accesses email. So your desktop and your laptop computers, the computer comes with software for email. Microsoft and Apple come with built-in mail applications. Both are aptly called mail. You may also access your mail via your internet browser like Google Chrome or Safari, or with Microsoft, it's Microsoft Edge. Tablets and smartphones, they come with a mail app built in that will work for any email. But you could also download alternate apps. So for me, I have the Gmail app on my phone, AOL for AOL users, or Outlook for anybody who uses Outlook is also available in an application. So our next section, we're going to go into the cloud. What is it and why does it matter? Oh gosh, it matters a lot. So what is the cloud, everybody? So cloud storage is like a storage unit, but you access it via the internet. So you can think about it as purchasing, if you are purchasing storage in the cloud, which many of us are, it is like purchasing a storage unit and all of your things go in there to stay safe for you to access. The cloud also is there's a typo there, apologies, is also used for computer programs. Instead of downloading, the program on your computer is accessed via the internet. So you store things in a Facebook cloud, or you store things in a Twitter cloud, or you store things in the Instagram cloud that are all available. The cloud is a generic term, but there are brand specific names that sound alike. Here are a few. Microsoft's cloud service is called OneDrive. Apple's cloud service is called the iCloud, and Google's cloud service is called the Google Drive. And I have a little image of what those look like. The Google Drive here is not what the Google Drive actually looks like. There's a few more colors here that are missing from this, but it's close to what it is. One thing that I hadn't mentioned was Dropbox. Some people do use Dropbox still. I don't use Dropbox. I have the iCloud and the Google Drive, but it is still a cloud service that's available to you. So you're probably using the cloud. Even if you don't know you're using the cloud, you're probably using the cloud. If you have an iPhone, your photos store in the cloud. Your email is stored in the cloud with your email services. Smartphones usually automatically back up to the cloud. So iPhones are going to back up to the iCloud. If you're using Gmail, your email is going to be backing up to your Google Drive cloud. And you have a choice whether to store on your desktop or laptop, or you can put them in the cloud. Typically with my clients, I recommend that you do back up to the cloud just in case something happens. I've found that sometimes people will be storing with an external hard drive, which is a great tool, and it's very important to have your backup on an external drive as well. But if anything happens to that external drive at the same time as your computer, then you're not going to have that information stored. So backing up to the cloud is very important as well. So should you use the cloud? Is it safe? We always say yes and no to our clients. We don't advise not to use it, but it really is important to manage your risk. So if you are using cloud storage, just know that you should be using secure passwords with the storage. It's great for collaboration. A document stored in the cloud can be accessed by 2 people at once, but it is possible to have an account hacked if your password becomes compromised. And I have worked with many clients that have had their passwords compromised. So we have to reset their passwords and work together to maintain and really start fresh with something so that we can secure their accounts again. The 2 things
Right.
that
and I just want to add that at our last Tech Hub presentation, and we do have the slides and the video, Chris mentioned, ways to have like very safe passwords to include numbers or symbols so that it, maybe take a first letter of a word in each sentence, but there are ways to come up with very safe passwords that you will remember. So that's important as well.
Yes, that's very important. And I always make sure that people are not reusing their passwords. It's if someone does, if like there is a breach somewhere, I know there was, the Target breach that everybody knows about, or those hotels that were breached. If that information is out there and you have similar passwords across all different accounts, then somebody then has your password on all of these other accounts. So it's very important to keep those completely different. Change your passwords from one account to the next. Also, the new information out there is to use really long passwords. And I know that can be very difficult for somebody who needs to remember something. So it is harder to have a long password that you have to remember. But what I do with my long passwords is I will write them down in a password book, and then I keep that in a very safe, secure place that, only I know where that is, so that it's safe. And I like having a password book as well, because you change your passwords. There are times when you need to change a password, or you really should be changing your passwords frequently, to keep, not frequently. I think that, they say 6 months, or just have a password checkup to make sure that all of your passwords are safe. But really having a long password is a very strong way to keep your account safe. Having numbers, different capitals and lowercase, having someone told me that having a cipher with your account is also something that is really good to use. Once again, it makes it very complicated. And you would definitely need a password book if you have a cipher with your password. So it's just, it's about managing risk.
Absolutely. And so the question, of course, is what is a password book? And that's when we go back to old school, and it literally is a book that you write down your passwords in. I mean,
Yes.
that's a password book, and you keep it somewhere safe in your home. If you're taking a laptop or a tablet with you, you don't take your password book with you. Just keep it someplace very safe, and it is something written down so you can't lose it in the cloud or have it hacked. And speaking of the cloud, the other question we had was somebody asked about paying for the cloud.
Okay,
And do you pay for it?
You do pay for storage now. A lot of these cloud services are going to be charging for storage. I think AOL, has the most storage. I think it's like 1 terabyte that you get for free, but I have to check that number again. But Google, once you reach your storage limit, is going to start asking you for storage payment. Something like 99 cents a month is what you are charged for Apple. It's basically like renting a little storage space in the cloud, which is, as we all know, is just a whole room, or place filled with all of these different pieces of technology stacked on top of each other to hold all of your information.
Thank you.
And they keep those rooms very cold too. So the last point I want to make about your cloud information is, on the other hand, cloud storage backup gives you a data record if your device becomes unusable. So I have had clients that have dropped their phone, or just lost control of the phone, or it was misplaced or something like that. And if that device is compromised, or you need to get a new device, if you have the information backed up to the cloud, it should be a very easy transition. You can cancel that one phone, and then you can change your accounts if it was something that was misplaced. And then all of that information is still stored in the cloud, so you can bring it to a new device. All right. That concludes our discussion for today. Thank you all so much. If there are any more questions, please ask. And I've worked with many clients with all of these different devices, setting up the devices, connecting them to printers, really coaching and working with the technology, because it's learning every time they do an update or an upgrade where they change things around with the features. So it's very important to just keep the mindset that you're a lifelong learner. So this is something that you need to continue to work on to learn, which is very important.
That's great, Erin. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to stop sharing your screen so that we can see if anybody has questions. And while you're doing that, I did have a question on the chat in terms of somebody asked if most devices automatically upload to the cloud, then why do you say that you should make certain that you're backing up to the cloud?
So most devices do back up to the cloud, but you have to make sure that the cloud is turned on. So you have to make sure that you actually have these features that are backing up to the cloud. I had a client recently that she thought that she was backing up her contacts and everything in her phone to the cloud, but she was actually just saving them to the device. So when the device became compromised, and it was such an old device that they weren't connected to the cloud, I had to manually input all of these contacts into her phone, which is very time intensive. And it can be a headache because how many contacts do we store in our phone? We store so many contacts in the phone. And you really want to make sure that you're backing up to the cloud, because if you are taking pictures on your phone and they're not backing up to the cloud, if anything happens to your device, those pictures then would just disappear because you wouldn't have that saved to the cloud.
Thank you. Thank you. So people, you are welcome to unmute yourself and ask any questions you'd like. Sally, I see you're already unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Erin. I really learned a lot from this because I'm in the process of trying to really unscramble my mix of devices. I have a Mac desktop, a really big one that I like, and I have a Droid phone, and I had an old Samsung tablet. So I'm now starting to review all of that. But the first thing I have, my first question is, maybe this will be my only question going in, is my desktop, which I said is wonderful and big and seems to work just fine. It's an Apple, but it's a Sierra operating system. So it's about 10 years old. Can that be updated, or do I have to look at getting a whole new desktop?
So unfortunately, you'll probably have to get a new desktop. And I would recommend that if you're doing things on your computer, like working with like a retirement fund or doing any kind of medical information or anything like that. Now, you don't have to, if you're not putting that information out there, like if you're not doing any banking or medical records or anything that are online that way, it's possible that you're just making documents that would still be able to be used on that computer just for personal use. Obviously, it's just your private home computer, so you can still use that operating system. It just doesn't include all of the bug fixes. So if something gets just a little weird or funky with the computer, it's probably just because this is running such old software.
Yeah, I really never had any problems with it. I mean, as I said, it's been absolutely great. And
Good.
I haven't done any of those things that you have warned me about because I don't really trust the security of the system.
Oh, I completely understand. My husband trusts the system, but I still write checks to my student loans. I don't have like direct deposit with my loan to my college campus. I had to do it with my federal loans, which was unfortunate, but I think it's important to have like hard copies of things. And I don't always trust the technology because it's always changing. And there are so many people that know far more than I do.
So if I ended up getting, let's say, a laptop that's also a Mac,
Mhm.
they would communicate, they could or would communicate with each other.
Yes,
And,
they
and that would be a more updated system. So could I then, I then do some, I mean, I really don't want to do banking, but could I do things that need to have security on the laptop?
So if you have a newer operating system and a newer laptop, it does take care of those security features, but the talking back and forth between the computers is just talking with the cloud. So if you were taking pictures that were stored on your laptop, they could also then be showing up on your computer, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So also things like documents could be accessed through the cloud as well. So I would recommend just making sure that you have a very secure password for your iCloud account.
Okay, thank you.
To each other.
Thank you. I think Liz, I think you were next with a question.
Thank you. My questions relate to making documents. I have all Apple products. I have 2018 MacBook Air. I'm waiting for the new ones to come out later this year to get a new one with more storage on it. But I just got a new Apple iPhone 13 Pro Max and a new laptop, new iPad mini.
Mhm.
So, and I went with a friend to do all this and they set it up, you know, at the Genius Bar and all that stuff. But what I don't know how to do, even on my computer, is really make a document.
Okay. So with the Apple products, what you would use for documents is a program called Pages, unless you are to purchase the Microsoft programs, which they have a subscription for you to purchase, which you don't have to, obviously. I like using Pages, and then I use my documents and slideshows and Excel spreadsheets through the Google Drive. So if you are to start with making documents, I think it is very important just to start a new document. And there are so many tutorials that are available for you online that you can really get step-by-step guidance on all of these features with that application or with that program. So what you would like, if what I do with a lot of my clients, just to make sure that they feel confident and comfortable working on their own to solve these problems, is just, you know, going to YouTube or going to Google and typing in, you know, Pages tutorial, basic documents. And then it'll come up with videos, it'll come up with step-by-step guidance, usually with screenshots so that you can follow along. Just make sure when you're doing that you look for the most up-to-date data or most up-to-date references, because you have brand new programs right now. So they have more features.
And let me just say, Liz, that the next time you're in town, we could have a volunteer walk you through that. You know, that is something that our volunteers are happy to help you with. We have many
That would be
volunteers that
great.
use the Mac system that would be happy to walk you through that.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Gail, you need to unmute.
I want to join that tutorial. Thank you. That's exactly what I need.
Great. Great. Any other questions? Anybody have any other questions for Erin? Well, this has been fabulous. Thank you so very much. We will have the video on our YouTube channel, and we welcome you to look at it again. And I thank Erin for joining us. We will be offering more Tech Hub programs from Tech Moxie as we move forward. So keep an eye on our email blast. The next one, well, our next Tech Hub program is actually in May, and Chris Farrow will be back with a general Q&A. Just any questions you have about computers, passwords, usage, he will be here to answer questions. It's not going to be a formal presentation, just a Q&A. And then I think we're taking a break for the summer, and we will be back in September with more Tech Moxie programs.
Wonderful.
So, let me just actually, while I'm doing this, Bonnie, did you have the date handy for Chris's program? It's on our team up calendar. So just, Juanita's going to unmute and give us the date in a second. So I'll just ask you to bear with us for a minute. And also the date of our upcoming CCC programs. We do have a program coming up on Friday. Don't forget, we are going to the French Market and we are having lunch in person. We get to see each other in person at Martin's at 12. So we hope you will join us for that. And we also are restarting our exercise program on Monday at 11:30 at the office. So that's another opportunity to see us in person. We do request you wear masks for the exercise program. And Bonita looks like she's unmuted, so I think she has some more dates for us. Thank you.
The Tech Hub for the next presentation is May 12th at 5:30. And the CCC program focusing on climate change with Hans Copper will be on May 25th at 5:30.
Excellent. And by the way, don't forget May 18th, everybody, we have a party planned. So we hope to see you at our fundraiser on May 18th at Nancy Taylor Bubas's beautiful penthouse overlooking the Potomac. So if you've not received an invitation, blame the post office, but let us know and we will make sure to get you one. Okay, thank you for attending. Thank you for being here. Erin, thank you so very much. And we will see you all in person, I hope. Have a nice evening.
Bye-bye.